Hello, Legal Vices here. I'm a lawyer. The majority of the work I do centers around maritime and admiralty law. Just a quick comment here. News has broken that apparently there has been a debris field found near the wreck of the Titanic, which leads to the conclusion that although oxygen had statistically run out, the discovery of a debris field indicates that there was a catastrophic failure with the hull, which meant that death was likely instantaneously if it turns out that the debris is actually from the Titan submersible. It takes approximately 2 hours to go from the surface down 2.5 miles, 3,800 meters. They were approximately 1 hour and 45 minutes into their journey to the bottom of the ocean when they lost communication. So the pressure would have been massive. Any implosion of the submersible would have been instant, and death would have come very, very quickly, which, other than being rescued, is probably the best outcome that could come from this situation. It would have meant no suffering. There's going to be some major inquiries coming from this. The use of carbon fiber for the hull was a major point of contention, in that the effects of that depth, the pressure at that depth, the cold, so temperature plus pressure on carbon fiber hadn't been adequately tested. Apparently, there's going to be a lot of legal issues coming out of this. Probably a lot of regulatory requirements and new rules are going to be coming from this. But one step at a time. Now we have to figure out what's going to happen on this. The Coast Guard has announced that they're going to be giving a press conference approximately 2 hours from now. So we'll know more about it then. But while we wait, I just wanted to bring up a couple of news articles about what we know at this moment. Let's change this around here a bit. The Coast Guard has announced Thursday that a debris field was discovered within the search area by an ROV near the Titanic. That's essentially just an underwater camera. The remotely operated vehicles, they go down to the depth, they film things, they take video, and they relay it back to the surface. So expert within the Unified Command are evaluating the information, it added. Underwater remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, were deployed Thursday morning to search the ocean floor for OceanGate's Titan submarine, which vanished Sunday morning with 5 passengers on board. The Coast Guard earlier said that the Canadian vessel Horizon Arctic had deployed an ROV that has reached the seafloor and began its search for the missing sub. The French vessel L'Atlante also deployed their ROV, it added. The Titan submarine vanished Sunday morning with 5 people on board. OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush, French mariner Paul-Henri Nargeolet, British businessman and explorer Hamish Harding, and Pakistani businessman Mr. Dawood and his son Dawood. The oxygen inside Titan was estimated by the Coast Guard to run out on Thursday morning. That was approximately 1 hour ago, and then shortly thereafter there was another news update. The Coast Guard announced Thursday that an underwater remotely operated vehicle, ROV, has found a debris field in the search for the missing OceanGate Titan submarine. The discovery was made after ROVs were scanning the Atlantic Ocean floor. Fast facts. The OceanGate Titan submarine carrying 5 passengers was reported missing on Sunday. An underwater debris field was found Thursday, hours after the Canadian Horizon Arctic deployed a remotely operated vehicle to scan the Atlantic floor, the Coast Guard says. The Titan was estimated to have run out of breathable air by Thursday morning Eastern Standard Time, the Coast Guard said. And the passengers have been identified, we just read them, and the 5-person submersible weighs 20,000 pounds and is capable of diving 13,120 feet. So the Coast Guard has announced this press conference at 3 p.m. Eastern following the debris field discovery. The Coast Guard has scheduled a press conference for 3 p.m. Eastern Time in Boston, Massachusetts, following the announcement that an underwater debris field has been found in the search for the OceanGate missing Titan submarine, which vanished Sunday with 5 people on board. The Coast Guard is scheduled to hold a press briefing to discuss findings from the Horizon Arctic's remotely operated vehicle near the Titanic, it said in a press release. Around 5 hours ago, the Coast Guard said that Horizon Arctic's ROV reached the seafloor and began its search for the missing sub. The Titan submarine vanished Sunday with these people on board. The Titan lost contact with its surface vessel, the Polar Prince, around 1 hour and 45 minutes into its dive Sunday morning, about 900 miles east of Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and around 400 miles southeast of St. John's in Canada's Newfoundland. The U.S. Coast Guard is heading a unified command that involved commercial assets, research vehicles, and military counterparts from Canada, France, and the United Kingdom. On Tuesday and Wednesday, Canadian pilots picked up repeated sounds during their search. And again, what those sounds were was never explained. It was never discovered. Whether or not it had anything to do with the ship, with the submarine, we won't know, but very, very unlikely. Anything underwater could have made those sounds. The fact that they were repetitive about every 30 minutes gave people hope, but we don't know when. Again, assuming that this debris field belongs to the Titan, we don't know when it happened. But if it happened, it likely would have happened early on. Well, turning to other sources here. Debris field discovered within search area near Titanic. In a major update, the United States Coast Guard has said a debris field was discovered within the search area by a remotely operated vehicle, ROV, near the Titanic wreck. It said experts within are evaluating the information. Earlier, the Coast Guard said the search and rescue operation was still active. It confirmed the French deep-sea robot Victor 6000 has been deployed. Meanwhile, the Canadian vessel Horizon Arctic has also deployed its own ROV on the floor. U.S. Coast Guard to give a news briefing at 8 p.m. UK time. The U.S. Coast Guard will give a news briefing on the search and rescue operation for Titan at 3 p.m. local time, which is 8 p.m. UK time. It says we'll focus on the findings from a remotely operated vehicle on the seafloor near the Titanic. These statements are going to be, from the Coast Guard, are going to be very, very, very carefully curated, very, very carefully prepared. And so the wording obviously means something. Details are yet to be confirmed, but the word debris doesn't sound good. Sky US's correspondent James Matthews says that while the details about the debris have not been confirmed, it doesn't look good. Speaking from Boston, he says, frankly, the use of the word debris does not sound good at all. In a situation and at the depth where the water pressure is huge, it can do considerable damage to vessels. Sorry about that. So, should the worst have happened, and we don't know if that's the case yet, and that vessel was broken up somehow by the pressure at that depth, then the word debris would absolutely fit that worst case scenario. It doesn't sound good. It reads in a very dark way. The detail presumably will be fleshed out in time, and indeed, they are still analyzing what has been found. But the details are yet to be confirmed. We don't know what that debris is. That will be confirmed in due course, but it doesn't look good. Again, this is what I was just referring to. They would have thought long and hard about this message. It's significant. Sky International correspondent John Sparks said he thinks the U.S. Coast Guard announcement that debris has been found is significant. Let's make this a little bigger so you all can read along here. Ooh, there's a new post. There's been an update. We will get to that in just one quick second. Speaking from Newfoundland, Canada, he says, I think it's very unlikely. I think it's highly likely to be very significant. It's been put up by the U.S. Coast Guard a couple of hours before they're scheduled to hold their news conference. They are in charge, obviously, of this international search and rescue operation, and I think they would have thought long and hard about putting out this message. If you think about it, the consequences, what people will read into this, they have put it out, and they know how the world, the families, the media, and various governments are likely to react to this news. They've said near the Titanic, this is very interesting. We're talking about a part of the North Atlantic with strong currents, with big swell. The fact that debris has come up near the Titanic, I think that's significant. Again, to me, that would, if again, assuming that is the debris from the Titan, it likely means it would have arrived at the Titanic. Losing communications doesn't necessarily mean that's when any catastrophic failure would have happened, because as has been reported in many sources, and there's even video of the people talking about their experience previously going down in the same Titan rover, they lost communications for about 2 hours and 45 minutes previously. So the fact that this tin can, this empty tin can with joystick controllers and game controllers, lost communications is not the first time it's happened. All right. And again, this, as I said, this is probably the only good news to come out of this situation. The only saving grace is that it would have been immediate, milliseconds, says friends of passengers and rescue experts. A rescue expert who knows 2 of the passengers on board Titan said the Coast Guard doesn't use phrases like debris field unless there's no chance of a recovery of the men alive. David Mearns told Sky News, a debris field implies there's a breakup of the submersible, and at that depth, because we know that they lost communications at around 3,300 meters, so that really indicates what is the worst case scenario, which is a catastrophic failure and implosion, he said. Speaking about if there has been an implosion, he said the only saving grace is that would have been immediate, literally in milliseconds, and that the men would have had no idea what was happening. He added that this was his fear on Monday morning when he heard Hamish Harding, one of the 5 men on board Titan, was missing in a submersible. Mr. Mearns said they told me it was the dive on Titanic, that it was the first dive. That's a bad sign. That it was on ascent. That was a bad sign, and where comms were lost, so my worst fears have now been realized. Mr. Mearns said he knows both British billionaire Hamish Harding and the French sub-pilot Paul-Henri Nargeolet. Now, this is the most recent news that's been added here. Debris is landing frame and rear cover from sub, experts say. A rescue expert says the debris found in a search for Titan was a landing frame and a rear cover from the submersible. David Mearns, who is friends with 2 of the passengers on board Titan, says he is part of a WhatsApp group involving the Explorers Club. Mr. Mearns told Sky News the president of the club, who is directly connected to the ships on the site, said to the group it was a landing frame and a rear cover from the submersible. Mr. Mearns said, again, this is an unconventional submarine, to say the least. That rear cover is the pointy end of it. And the landing frame is the little frame that seems to sit on. He says this confirms that it is the submersible. Mr. Mearns said he knows both British billionaire Hamish Harding and the French sub-pilot Paul-Henri Nargeolet. It means the hull hasn't yet been found, but 2 very important parts of the whole system have been discovered, and that would not be found unless it's fragmented, he added. So that's the latest news we have on this. The Coast Guard, in about 2 hours from now, is going to be having a press conference to talk about this. But again, it does look like it's a worst case scenario where there was a breakup, an implosion. And if the reports are to be believed, this part here is what was found near the Titanic, along with the platform that runs under the Titan. I said saving grace. If it happened on the descent, they were very, very near the bottom when it happened. Death would have been instantaneous as it imploded under the massive pressure. We'll have to see what the Coast Guard says later, but down the road, we're going to be looking at massive lawsuits. We're going to be looking at regulations. Regulatory bodies are going to step in. It's probably going to take years to sort this out. In the meantime, thoughts for the families of the people. And we will talk more about this on Monday on my Maritime Monday stream. Checking out Legal Vices. Please, like and subscribe to this if that's what you're inclined to do. Subscribe to the channel, hit notifications, and you'll get the notifications for all of the live streams and videos that I upload. And again, every Monday we do a Maritime Monday where we talk about maritime related issues. And clearly we're going to be talking about this coming up on Monday. So thank you very much. And until we meet again, cheers.